Hey guys, welcome back to How's It Doing Garage. Today we're working on another C10. This is my buddy Dre's truck. It's got a pretty gnarly LS in it and a pretty gnarly burn-up transmission, among other things. Dre's a long-time supporter of my channel and my business. He's been a customer of mine for a long time, and he burned his tranny up, so he's enlisted us to help him fix it. So he's got a couple other little random things wrong with the truck that we're gonna fix up, but main thing is the transmission. All right, guys, so one of the things we're gonna be doing to the truck, in no particular order, is a Borgeson quick ratio steering box and their steering shaft with no rag joint in it. These steering shafts they're pretty nice. You can get them on Summit. Level 7 Motorsports sells them. You can get them pretty much anywhere, but they come with nice universals. They're collapsible, so if you get an accident, it'll collapse. And there's no rag joint, so they're super sturdy, so it gives you a better feel. The quick ratio steering boxes are just that. They give you a little quicker steering ratio. These are brand new boxes. These aren't rebuilt or remanufactured boxes. These are brand new. They come powder coated, and they're just really nice unit. Again, Summit Racing, Level 7 Motorsports sells these, a couple other spots. And then also we have their adapter fittings. So this will adapt the box to dash 6. So you can run, like stainless braided hose or whatever for that. So we're going to get to working on putting this in. And then also what we have is a new radiator, because apparently this radiator's got a hole in it. So we have a radiator from Cold Case we're going to put in it. And then we also have body mount bushings, outer tie rods, tie rod sleeves, some of these billet door strikers. We're going to put those on. A new hood latch. Not exactly sure what's wrong with this hood latch, but we have a new hood latch. Some rubbers for the tailgate. I guess the tailgate's squeaking. And then we also got some low car window cranks that he would like put on. So we'll do that. But the main thing we'll be doing is the 4L80 conversion. So we have a new flywheel, we have a dipstick, we have a conversion harness from BP Automotive. Love them guys, good people. And then we got a 2800 3200 stall from a place called Florida Torque Converters. I've never used them before. I've heard good things. This is a customer supplied unit, so I'm not, not 100% sure. But, he assured me they were good people and they make quality units. But yeah, and then we got all the bolts for the torque converter, flywheel, and whatnot. And then the transmission, I'm not sure where the transmission came from, but transmission's here. I hope it's rebuilt. I always get really nervous when somebody brings me a spray painted transmission, because every time I've ever installed a spray painted transmission, it's not gone well. But hopefully this isn't the case. But it appears somebody's already put AN fittings in the transmission for a cooler. Seals already in it, and all that. So hopefully it's good. They used Gorilla Tape to cover them fittings, so that was kind of fun trying to get that off. But Tommy's already working on getting the radiator out, draining the water out. It just has water in it, so I'm guessing he was putting water in it because it had a hole in it, so he wasn't wasting coolant. But yeah, we'll get the radiator swapped out, and then we're going to get it on the rack and get it up in the air and start working on the steering gearbox and all that other stuff. So get under. I've got some tech screws that are like that.
Right. They was, you know, made for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, we got them 4 out. That's a cold case too.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I got it.
No, no. Leaking.
Doo-doo-doo.
You gonna Teflon that?
Yeah.
It's over here, right?
Yes, sir.
What color we put on?
Just put the yellow on there. Alright, so we got the radiator put back together. I couldn't tell on the old radiator why it was leaking. But, you know, he said it was leaking, so, you know, whatever. But, we got the new radiator put together. I'm going to put this fitting back in here, and then we're going to throw her back in the truck. So as you can tell, the radiator's back in now. I forgot to turn the camera on, so you guys missed it all. But radiator's back in, fans are hooked back up. The top support's back in. I need to tighten it down. Tom's hooking up the hoses. And then we'll go put some coolant in it, and we should be good to go. You got it. Ready?
Yeah. Well, darn. Still stuck on the coupling a little bit.
Can we get it?
Whatever. I had it slid way up on the top. Still leaking fluids.
Alright, so we got the old box off. I'm going to wipe this off real quick, and then we're going to put the new box in here.
Lined up. Yeah.
Alright guys, so we got the steering shaft in. So when you put them universals in with them set screws, just make sure that you put some Loctite on there, tighten the jam nut down really good, and then kind of come over and check them periodically, make sure they're not loosening up, because sometimes they will loosen up. But the steering's all done. We got the power steering bled out. Tommy's putting the air intake back on right now. And we got the tie rods changed out. So now we're getting ready to start on the transmission. So probably start just by, you know, removing the old trans, but it shouldn't be too bad. I bought a transmission jack here not too long ago, and it's about time we used it. So as soon as Tommy gets done doing this, we'll put the truck in the air and see what we got. Alright, so now that we're under the truck, we're getting ready to take this trans out. So this is a 4L60 roached So we're probably gonna end up, for ease of workability, it looks like we should be able to snake the transmission down. We're gonna take the O2 sensors out, get them out of the way, and then obviously we're gonna take trans mount out. But we're probably gonna end up having to cut his H pipe off because the 4L80 is gonna bring this mount back, because the 4L80 mounts all the way on the back of the tail shaft, and the 4L80 is a little bit longer than the 60, so the mount's probably going to be right in the center of this H pipe. So we're probably just going to have to whack that off and figure something else out for that. There really isn't much. This is kind of magnetic plug on it. There really isn't much material left on here.
Right.
I wonder.
Well, I wiped it off.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Was there a lot on it when you wiped it off?
It had a little bit of, just a little bit of metal on it. Wasn't
nothing crazy.
right.
Food definitely smells terrible though. Terrible, Tommy.
What's that?
Here, transmission fluid smells terrible.
Yeah.
So we've got pretty much everything undone from the trans. We got the shifter out, wiring's out, O2 sensors out. They didn't put any anti-seize on the O2 sensors, so this one came right out. This one cross-threaded and ripped the bung all to hell. I've got the training lines out, undone. I've got torque converter bolts are out. Bottom of the bell housing bolts are out. We got to get the top bolts out, and then the transmission is going to come out. But seeing how they didn't put no anti-seize on the O2 sensors, and they also didn't put any thread lock or anything on any of the torque converter bolts, and they weren't even very tight. I'm not going to risk pulling these V-bands apart because they're just going to break. So I'm almost guaranteeing that the 4L80 transmission mount is going to land right here where this pipe is. So we got to cut the pipe out. Instead of taking the exhaust off, we're just going to cut the pipe and then pull the transmission out. And then we put the new transmission in. I'm almost positive the new mount's going to land right where this pipe is. So we'll have to run a whole new exhaust or something when we get it all done. Or not a whole new, but make a new H. But Tom's going to sawzall her off right now, and we'll get this tranny out. So here's something super annoying. So whoever did the swap on this truck, instead of putting the grounds on the heads where they're supposed to go, they decided to put the grounds on the bell housing bolts. So I tried to take a wrench from up top and hold the bolt while Tommy was on the bottom and tried to run a ratchet and loosen the bolt. But as soon as he did it, the wrench slipped off and broke the ground, which, yeah. Whoever did it did it on 2 bolts. The other bell housing bolt actually had a lock nut on it, so I decided I would just cut the ground off and then fix it by putting it back on the head where it belongs instead of screwing with this. And then they use like 3 different size bolts in the bell housing, so that's really, you know, super fun. But yeah, so Tommy's over there trying to get the dang nut and everything off of there. Like, yeah, it's just annoying. Then there's no anti-seize on O2 sensors, so pulled all the threads out of one of the bungs. And then the O2 sensors were positioned in a way that they were pointing towards the transmission, so the transmission couldn't come back because the bell housing was hitting the O2 sensor, so we had to pull them out. Otherwise, I would have just left them in there. But now I gotta go to an O2 sensor and freaking cut a bung off and weld a new bung on. So, yeah. just put it in. So we got transmission out. So as you can not really see here, the threads on that O2 bung are mucked up. Here's the grounds that I was telling you about right up here. These two ground wires. Normally you would attach these ground wires to the head. Like they go in the back of the head, up here, over here, wherever. Anywhere in the back of the head, these two ground wires. But they decided they were going to attach them to the transmission way back here with a double nut. And they were just not coming off. And also, like you'll notice on the back of this motor, the motor's painted. So when they put the transmission on here and then put grounds on the transmission wouldn't have a good ground because the back of the motor was all painted. So it's kind of bare metal now, but the rest of this paint's on the transmission. So it's generally not a good idea to ground to your transmission in the first place. But whatever, I guess. And then they had a freaking cheesy little tiny chassis ground going up to the top of the transmission too. So yeah, I'm gonna fix all that. Then they had some spacers, like silicone down this flywheel, little washers. I'm guessing something wasn't lining up, but yeah.
This is what gets me. Jack only moves about 1/8 of an inch.
Yeah.
Not the pump. Keep them jumping around. You want to impact to zip them and tighten them.
I don't like an impact and bell has bolts on. No one might like it snap bell or something for it.
Right, yeah, but to have. Probably gonna have to drill the frame for the cross member bolt.
Told you that was gonna fall right in the center of that, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Right in the center.
I tell that on the camera when. You always check that, because if you ain't got it in the pump, you'll bust the pump.
Oh, I had a friend of mine that impact on his brand spanking new transmission. He just doing LS swap in his S10.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't get his torque converter in all the way. Figured it was in all the way. Put it up in there. First thing he did was bolt the torque converter up. And then put the bolts in the bell housing.
Mm.
Run the bell housing bolts in with impact.
Yeah.
Put the starter in. I don't even know how we got the starter in. You remember that? See that flywheel we took off there?
Mm-hmm.
His flywheel looked the same but backwards. He had,
Right.
he had bent it.
Bowed it.
And he goes to start his trunk. Tick, tick. And it wouldn't start. He's oh man, what the hell? Went around for hours trying to figure out what was wrong with it. Was this? Was that? Whatever. Took the starter out. And then my buddy come over, the other buddy. They took the starter out and they tried to roll the motor over with the pry bar and it wouldn't move. So my buddy looks up in there and he could see that the flywheel was all bent around the converter. And he's like, man, that ain't right. And then they took the transmission back out. He took it back to the transmission shop, and the guy that rebuilt the transmission said that was the most damage he's ever seen somebody do to a pump trying to impact it on there like that.
My dad one time, he burned his transmission up. He arced the cooling line against the frame and the starter, or the cooling line and the starter, put the starter with a wrench, put the starter in or something. And it leaked transmission fluid from my driveway all the way out the road and back. And anyway, he burned his transmission up. Him and the buddy put the transmission in it in my shop, in the floor. And they didn't get it in. And they busted the flywheel, cracked it. It didn't hurt the transmission. And they said, we got to pull that transmission out. They had to dry everything in it. And I said, no, just pull the drive shaft back out. And I slid it back on 2 long starter bolts, put a flywheel in it, you know, without taking it back down, you know, from Dad. Just get longer bolts, pull it up. Oh, we should have had that already in there.
Mouth right, Tommy.
We're gonna be able to put the spacer in there.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. All right.
Center hole.
Yeah.
See if we can line it up.
We got the transmission in. We've got the cross member moved. Like I suspected, the new cross member was, or the new mount was like right in the center of the H pipe. So I'm gonna take it to the exhaust guy and see. I don't think I wanna droop it down low because then you can't get the bolt out. So I'm gonna see if we can do is kind of spin it around the mount, get it back in there. Dre didn't have a yoke. I just happened to have one on the shelf, so I'm gonna sell him this yoke. I've got the adapter harness plugged in and zip tied up there. It looks kind of wonky because you add 2 foot of harness. Where you're gonna put it. We got the mounts, new bolt holes drilled in the mounts. I fixed this bung, cut the old bung off, welded a new bung on. Got a new O2 sensor put in it. Starter's back on. Torque converter bolts are in and Loctited and torqued. Other O2 sensors on. Shifter's back on. Transmission's wired up. We measured for the new drive shaft. The old drive shaft was 58.5, so new drive shaft from what I just measured is going to be 57.5. So it's only an inch difference. So I thought it'd be a little more than that, but it is what it is. Dre did send me a dipstick, which I don't know. Let me go to the light because I don't think you can see that. But Dre did supply a dipstick. Let me get my hand up in there. But this dipstick, he can't really tell, but it doesn't bolt to anything. There's nothing. It's actually just kind of sitting up in there right now. Actually, they got the O2 sensor going around it for some reason, but there's nothing for it to bolt down to, so we need a different dipstick. Is basically what I'm getting at. It's just kind of sitting in there right now. And then I accidentally wrapped the O2 sensor wire around it, which I'll have to fix that. But it's supposed to go on that stud right there on the transmission. That's where it's supposed to go, but it's not working out. I did have to cut off this ear off the side of the transmission because it was obviously hitting the header. This side was good. We did have to kind of like tilt the transmission and get it up over this one, and then I was hoping to come back and it would fit, but it didn't, so we just cut it off. So I mean, that's gonna about do it for this for now until we get the drive shaft made. Everything else on the truck that we were hired to do is done, so I'm actually going to go out of town for a few days. So Tommy, who's underneath Sarah's truck right now, is going to run the drive shaft over to Drive Shaft Services in Marietta and have it shortened while I'm out of town. But anyway, when I get back, we'll get the drive shaft put in it, and then we'll progress on this little C10. Alright guys, so the truck is back together. I've taken it down, gotten alignment on it, I've had the exhaust fixed, and I've used HP tuners to tune the transmission. Well, not really tune the transmission, but basically what we did was just did a segment swap in the ECU, which is what you do is you take the segment from a 4L80E and you just swap it over top of the 4L60 and you create a new tune file. This is the first time I've used HP tuners, so I'm not really that, like, you know, educated on it. So all we did was swap in a stock tune for a 4L80. We kept the tune for running the actual engine, but we just swapped the tune over for just the transmission and the transmission diagnostics. So there's a ton of videos out on the internet on how to do segment swaps. I'm not really going to go into it because I'm not that educated on it, so I'll probably make myself look dumb. But we've swapped the segment for the transmission. I've driven around a little bit. It seems to be running great. We're going to jump in it, go run it up and down the road real quick and just make sure everything is good. We've completed all the other tasks that the customer wanted us to do on the truck, so he's actually going to come get it later on today. And I mean, obviously he's going to be happy with it. It's pretty rad. So yeah, so let's go rip it down the road, just double check, make sure we don't have any kind of issues or anything like that, and this one will be good to go. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for this video. I mean, this truck drives incredible. Torque converter is a little bit looser than what I would like, but I mean, what can you do? It drives great, runs out great, shifts great, everything's great. So he's on his way to come get it, and I hope he enjoys the crap out of it. So that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, throw a comment down below on what you think of our transmission swap and miscellaneous other stuff we did to this truck. And we'll catch y'all on the next video.